I just want to again, thank you so much. Our weekend reviews are having a great response with the public for the sole purpose that we want the public to know what law enforcement in Genesee County is doing, not just our agency, but across all police agencies, and to get people to talk about this stuff, to have dinners over these topics, to talk to their classes, to pull your kids in, talk to people at work, because these are real life things that are happening just in the last 7 days. So we have a lot of topics to talk about. We're going to keep it nice and short because there's an incredible demonstration you're going to be a part of if you so choose. So just in a week, I want to go over some stats. Our medic division answered 353 calls for service that are just tier 1 calls, meaning life-threatening calls. We call them tier 1 because they are cardiac medicals, trouble breathing, traumas, gunshot wounds, suicide attempts, overdoses. Not just the tier 2, which are like broken arms, broken legs, still bad, but our medic division doesn't respond to them. They respond to 353 tier 1 medicals. So when you see those Chevy Tahoes driving and they're going lights and siren with ambulances, a good chance they're going to somebody's house and their worst day. So God bless the medic division. I'm still a medic today and I love it, I'm proud of it. All our patrol and medics, we did 33 arrests, 30 misdemeanor arrests, and 3 felony arrests. We responded to 35 accidents, and of those 35, 6 of them were injury accidents. There was 225 inmates booked at the Genesee County Jail and City Lockup, and our court deputies, which are right in this building, District Court and Circuit, they transported 225 people. Now this next stat, it just kind of blows people away. You drive by 5th and Saginaw, you see that big high rise, you think, oh, look at that, it's the jail. That jail is a busy place, and there's some great people inside that watch over. And right now, as we speak, there's a little over 600 inmates in the county jail. I want to point it out that of those 600 inmates, 559 are unsentenced. 559. It's a spot where people go and they get adjudicated, but this is the bigger stat. Of those, 219 of the 608 people that are in jail right now are capital offenses. Those are 20 years to life. Murders, CSC 1s, armed robberies, violent crimes. So almost a quarter of our population in the jail are people that are wanted and housed and doing time and waiting to be pushed through the system for capital cases. So all the DEPs that are out there that are working and guarding the inmates and care, custody, and control every day, we have a very violent population. They do a great job with the job that they do. So question on those stats. Okay, we did another case this week, and I want to give a lot of credit to the GISD. But last Wednesday, 1 week ago today, at around 3 o'clock, there was a bus that was transporting young adults from the Michigan School of the Deaf to other places. And in that transport, there was an adult that was on the bus as one of the students. And for whatever reason, Thomas Norton lost his cool. And he'd been a 13-year employee of the GISD, and there was video that a courageous student recorded of the incident. And the bus was stopped. The bus driver, again, lost his cool, assaulted the adult on the bus. The adult has some challenges, wasn't able to respond, and because of that, and the video, the GISD brought to our attention the next day when they found out, immediately made contact with the individual's families, worked with the family, immediately suspended and eventually terminated that employee. And then when we got involved, you can't do that, obviously. So we worked with David Layton, his office, and we charged Mr. Norton with an assault and battery, which is a 93-day misdemeanor, and a 2-year circuit court misdemeanor for assault. It's a 3rd-degree vulnerable adult assault charge. And I'm sure this guy has a great heart, but that day he lost his cool. For whatever reason, that student, and anybody who's ever taught, that students can push your buttons, but you have to have good temperament. You have to have some good discernment of what you can do and what you can't do. And physically touching, harming, assaulting a student is off limits. And this student that recorded, you'll see this video. This is just a still shot. We're not able to show the video. It's a disturbing video. You'll be able to see that if you go to the preliminary conference in the district court. But here's Mr. Norton. There's a student. And he's over the student, and it's just a horrific video. The sound is terrible, and I gotta believe that for somebody who wants to serve kids, who wants to be out there, and you just snap like that, there's consequences to answer to. So the message we have, and I'll open up for any questions, is if you are caregiving to somebody that's either vulnerable or in some type of medical need, it's okay to recognize that you're tapped out, that you can't go any farther, that you need backup and help. Please, you can call 911, call the sheriff's office, call our elder abuse task force. You can call anybody in authority. You can call the local hospital and just say, I need help. There are so many resources you can call for on all different levels, for veterans, for mentally ill, for the elderly, for those that just need any service whatsoever to help. And know that caregiving is one of the most noble jobs to do, but also one of the most taxing and stressful jobs. You can't lose your cool. These people need you. They need you at your best. But I tell you, everybody has a button. Everybody has a limit, and you can't let your you can't exceed your limits. That's the best way I can describe it. So we're working with the prosecutor's office. Again, it's a sad case. I do want to say GISD worked like true professionals. They did a great job. We actually talked with the assistant superintendent yesterday, and just what they did is exactly what any profession should do. There's great people. Over 2,000 people work for the GISD, and it's just one little isolated incident, and they worked it well, and give them great respect for that. So any questions on that case?
That was the first time he was ever in trouble for doing something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have no criminal record on him. He was a solid employee, and just one of those days, maybe a perfect storm. We talk about, don't bring your work home and don't bring it home to work. And I don't know what happened, but he snapped, and it cost him greatly.
What is he charged with?
Assault and battery, 93-day misdemeanor, and a 2-year circuit court misdemeanor, which is assault. It's a vulnerable adult, 3rd degree.
Do you know how old the student was on the books?
Because of the challenges, I will say that they're over 18, but it was an adult student. Yes.
And I know there's been talk about the aid and what I seen last night.
Pardon me?
The aid behind him.
Yes, the question is the aid behind. That aid was not criminally charged, but was also terminated because of failure to report. And that's a great point from MLive, that if you see something and you don't report it, you're just as guilty as doing the act. So we have a moral, ethical obligation that if you see something that's not right and you know it's gonna flip people's life, you've got to report. Protect those who can't protect themselves. Any other questions? All right, this next part, okay? With your students, your families, whatever it is, have a conversation. The conversation I want you to have is grooming, online grooming. Can't get into specific details, but I'm going to follow up here shortly. In our local schools, we had 2 incidents where, because we work so well with other schools and other SROs, we had students from the ages of 12 to 18 groomed by people from 22 to 59, just in the last week. And the grooming started, in one case, on Chromebook, where in the class, students are given Chromebooks, and there was a contact made on a social media site right there in school, and eventually a physical meet. Same kind of scenario. Students at another school were contacted on 2 other platforms, social media being Instagram and Snapchat. Hey, you're beautiful. I want to meet you. You're so amazing. I'd love to take you to dinner. If we meet, I can give you money. All the things that trigger psychological responses from people that may not be getting it at a certain place at their home, that may be seeking that attention from somebody else, that may have a personality where that edifies them and they start making bad decisions. And these bad decisions led to physical meetings of these people. And as you know, through our ghost operations, these people have no good intent. They're there to do one thing, and that is to physically assault them and sexually abuse them. And we had talked about it as a command staff. How do we get this message out without tipping our hand on the cases we're working? And we couldn't hold back. And that is that when you see students, your kids, your friends, and they're either Snapchatting or they're Instagram messaging or they're using another profile, another platform, and they're talking to somebody, and that other person is of higher age, and they want to meet, that is a huge red flag. In fact, if you go to the GCSO Michigan Facebook right now, we just posted, and you can do the same thing, a great public service announcement on online grooming. This is an epidemic throughout the country. That's what these pedophiles, these predators do. They know what buttons to push, and they know how to get people in. And once they meet them, we have one person that left in the middle of the night, It was found the next day by their parent. We had other students that brought it to our attention because other students knew that something was wrong, and there was already meetings. I mean, once we blow open these cases, because we're working them, the GHOST team is working them, and we're going to hold them accountable. I will tell you that the perpetrators in these cases are not even from Genesee County. They come, they travel up to an hour, 2 hours just to come and meet. And these aren't the only victims. It's all over the state, it's all over the country. And the message we're given is not just about the story, it's about what you need to have in your own life. And that is barriers, boundaries. You need to have conversations. You need to have a topic of discussion to say, hey, what's going on? Get into your people's business. When you have phones and they're retreating and nobody's coming out for dinner, then they're talking and they're keeping it hidden. Those are red flags, parents, that you've got to get in your kids' businesses. And whether it's grandparents or your own friends, I mean, they're there to do nothing. I always use this example. I say that a predator coming into your house online is no different than you leaving the front door open, unlocked, and leaving your house. So your 12, 13, 14-year-old kid can have a conversation with a 58-year-old gentleman. Are you kidding me? We would never do that, but that's what happens when it's online. So use this as a conversation piece. Talk about it. Don't wait for it. It's happening as we speak. Any questions on that?
How many students?
How many students are involved? Without getting into great details, because we're working great with the high schools and the middle schools and the GISD. This week it was shocking, but I'll say less than 10, more than 5. And when they started coming this way, we thought, something's got to happen. Like we've got to get this message out. You can't sit on this information.
And how many schools?
And by the way, and that's just what we know. I mean, how many other conversations are taking place that we don't even know? We are working with, again, this is something systemic. Schools are doing a great job. That's why we partner with the schools. So we are involving all the schools as they already are involved. They already have protocols involved. They already have things in place. What we're saying is the message that we want, the schools are doing a great job. We just need to partner with schools, partner with families, partner with law enforcement to get the message out there that online grooming is real. And that's how it starts.
They have these Chromebooks, but they have social media. Don't a lot of schools have the social media part shut off?
Yeah, but I mean, there's ways around that. There's different avenues they can take, and again, some schools need to maybe look at their access points to find out, maybe they do have more access than they should. Again, I hope that the message is take action, do a review, do an audit of what's capable to your students. What are we given? But it's not even just schools. That's just one incident. There is other online connections and social media platforms that have nothing to do with the school. It just happened to be at the school.
Can you say how many schools it is? And is it
I
middle?
can't, because when the story develops, we'll actually have those schools, and I want them to have a chance to respond. We have communicated this to all of the school districts that this is happening. They're aware of it, and they're fighting the same battle that we're fighting.
You said 12 to 18, so it's middle and high school?
Yeah, absolutely. The youngest that we've dealt with is a 12-year-old all the way up to 18.
And the perpetrators doing this, is it the
Yes.
same
No,
person? or
multiple
is it-
people. Multiple people. That's why it's so shocking. Just this week this came out, and we knew that was happening, but it's now in our backyard.
What can a school do?
What can a school do? Schools that we work with, we have the greatest relationships we've ever had. We have great superintendents and principals, and everybody's aware of it. They go to training, they go to conferences, we do talks. Grand Blanc is sponsoring, where's Chia? Grand Blanc is sponsoring Ring of Silence on what day?
February 26th.
February 26th, which is a film that my dear friend Kim Gray funded and produced and directed, and it is a human trafficking in your face. I would call it rated R, not by graphic points, but by reality, so they can be aware of it. Schools are doing, trust me, it's almost like parenting. When your kid screws up, you can be like, what can you be a better parent? I'm trying everything. And so it's not like they're not doing one thing, they just got to keep doing it, and they got to keep doing it, and you need to do it as a family, you need to do it as a church, you need to do it as a business, as a friend. Everybody, you cannot let your guard down. That's why human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. Fastest growing, because of the online ability to connect and to groom and to assault and charge and build a business, and that's what we do every day, we fight.
Kids 12 to 18, normally they hear something from a parent,
Yeah.
from a teacher about something like this,
Yeah.
they're gonna roll their eyes, right? How do you get through to them?
How do you get through 12 to 18? It's not just parents. You know, I could go back in my life and people that are viewing can see that somebody who's not the parent was a huge mentor in their life. A friend that came up. I don't think there's one particular voice that people listen to, but if they hear it from multiple places, maybe it's that one voice to be like, you know what, I need to see this. That's why we're doing this right now. That's why you need to have conversations and talk real with your kids. You know, I talk to my kids when they're from young to 18 to 21, and I always say, you know, truth with boundaries. So it doesn't matter. You talk to your kids at 6 years old about drugs and prostitution and human trafficking and take them around and show them what it looks like. But you've got to know their ability to understand. But this should be a topic that is easy to talk about, not one you stay away from because it's uncomfortable. But I agree. I mean, I talk to parents that have pounded a message into a kid, but they hear it from a police officer and now they click, they get it. Or my second grade teacher from Reed Elementary in Goodrich, Mrs. Olivet, she could speak to me on something that my parent couldn't do, and now she's gone, I still remember those lessons. So the voice has to come from multiple sources. Now, skipping forward, we have a guest, Chia Morgan. Chia is from Hurley Hospital, and she's with our Hurley Trauma Recovery. Hurley Trauma Recovery. Now, she's been a friend of law enforcement and of our office, and she has got my personality, which is why we click. Chia Morgan talks and deals with the victims after it's been discovered. Victims of violent crimes, gunshots, stabbings, and human trafficking victims. So, and elder abuse. Anything that's violent crimes at the victim side of it. And you will be, as I said, blown away as to what Hurley has to offer these victims, and under Chia's leadership, what message she wants to put out there. So what is it you do, and what can our viewers take away?
All right, so I have a great supervisor, Trisha Bryan. She's actually our coordinator. She just lets me get out and kind of put my heart out into the community, and I'm grateful for that. So we are the only trauma recovery center in the state of Michigan, and like he said, victimization is here, it is real on all different levels, ranging from our children to our adults. So when they come into the hospital, we have amazing doctors at Hurley and wonderful nurses. However, they can't do it all. There's the healing piece, and then we do the social work aspect, and we help them whether they need a PPO, whether they need to be relocated, whether they just need somebody to sit there and talk to and say, this is something that I've been dealing with forever, or I never thought I would deal with this. We have an on-site therapist who we can refer them to, and they can, get that bedside, or they can follow up, because just being a victim of crime, abuse, all of that, it does weigh on you heavily. And the Sheriff's Department, they have been awesome in helping us to bring this program forth in our community. You have to be a resident of Genesee County, and you have to come through Hurley at some point of admission. We typically see them in the hospital. However, we do have our prosecutors and our sheriff and other law enforcement in the area. They make referrals for us. But if you're watching this and you say, look, I've been a victim of some crime, and I've come through Hurley 3 years. We can go back 3 years. I'm really struggling. I really need to talk to somebody. I need some help. You can contact my supervisor at 810-262-7340, and we will see how we can work with you. You don't have to give specifics, in the live comments or anything. We're there to hear you, and we will work with you on your individual level.
Phone number one more time, please.
810-262-7340.
I will put you on a hot seat. Is there a particular case, without getting into specifics, that you can say, I remember when this case came in, this is what we're able to do, and this is where they are right now, because they had to get past the healing?
Yes, I do. Off the top of my head, I have someone who came in, they started the therapy, and they were actually able to get through. They're in a different living situation. I don't want to go into specifics to protect them. They're in a different mental state, and they're in a situation that they never thought that they could overcome the hunger. So
now they're thriving.
They are.
Instead of dying.
They are. And, it gets emotional because you see people at their lowest point in the hospital, whether it's just a common cold. But to see people add the trauma to it, and then you get to hear them weeks or months later say, this program was there to help us.
Yes.
It does have an emotional impact on you.
Is there age restrictions?
No age restrictions, because if you come in and you're going for child abuse, we are partners with Voices for Children, so we'll still get you to them. So no, and then if you don't go to Voices, then we'll take you. Like I said, we go all the way up to elder abuse. And I want to encourage people. I saw Ring of Silence. My whole team saw it. It's important, and like you were saying, that extra voice. It's a way for children to really see it. It brings it to life. So take your teens, make it a mommy-daughter date, a daddy-daughter date, a auntie-niece date, however. Just grab a youth and take
Chia
them.
day.
It's important. Chia day. I want to see Sarah Jakes that day, so I'll miss it. But hey, I I'll buy you a ticket.
That's
Whatever
it.
I need to do to get you there.
That's it.
It is a very important resource in our community. I'm really grateful
Yeah.
for the Ring of Silence movie.
I'm
being
grateful.
there.
That's what I say from Kim Gray, who took it upon herself to get behind it, put action behind it. So it's really making a big difference. Any questions for Chia Morgan and the program at Hurley?
I guess, I feel like a lot of things you work with, some of those people have a really hard time coming forward and saying something to begin with. So, what would you want to say to those types of people and how you can help them, like why it's important for them to come forward, not just for their own healing, but maybe to help other people out there?
I think the biggest part is it starts with us as being there at the hospital, whether it's the law enforcement or us in the trauma recovery, being genuine with people to let them know someone is here, because some people have never had someone that they could trust. So us giving them a reason to trust us, that's the biggest component. And then we can work with them on why it's so important to stand up to someone who has been trafficking you, to stand up to
Yes.
a boyfriend who has been
Yes.
exploiting you, a son who has been stealing his mother's money, whatever the aspect is. I think it begins with us who are there to help them.
And people become more courageous when someone shoulder to shoulder walks with them and
Yeah.
lifts them up. And I know that you have been in the trauma business for a long time, but try to describe what a victim looks like.
It could be me.
That's
I mean,
right.
you never know, because
Yeah.
we do. We have people who come in and they say, I have a career and I don't want this out.
Yes.
Lock my chart down because I don't want this to get back to my job. It could look like someone who looks like a prostitute, but they're being human trafficked. So a victim could be any of us,
That's right.
ranging from the CEO of an agency to someone who is struggling with homelessness and poverty. So
Yeah.
treat everybody with that aspect, because you don't know what they're packing underneath
Yeah.
their layers. And I say to law enforcement, when you come in, you have a job to do, try to bring your empathy when you're coming in with these cases, because you see some of the worst things out in the streets, but to this victim, you may be their only point of contact. So bring your empathy, because it means the world to them.
Rock star. Hey, listen, I just want to say for anybody that's watching right now, if you had this suppressed victim experience and you never got it out, again, there's great resources. We're just giving you one. And it's Chia Morgan. One more time on that phone number, and one more encouragement to get out there if you're struggling and take action to start healing and thrive.
810-262-7340. If you don't meet the qualifications of TRC, we'll connect you with somebody, because we're not just here for a job. We want our community to be whole and healed. You matter, your healing matters, and we're here with you the best we can.
Chia Morgan, yes! Woo, she killed it.
Knock it off.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thanks
it. We're
for
gonna go.
having us.
Yes, no problem. We're gonna transition over real quick again as to why you are going to be involved with a live active shooter drill. Last year, 2019, there was over 400 active shooting incidents, mass shooting incidents. By definition, 3 more people shot in one location. Doesn't include organized crime or gang violence. This is just good people like you and I in soft targets where we get shot and or killed. Over 2,000 people were wounded and killed last year, 2019, but we don't even hear that because we're so immune to it and numb to it. And why do we do these drills? Because if it's gonna happen here in Genesee County, we want our law enforcement to be prepared. So today is a day that our district court, circuit court are closed for the holiday, but it doesn't stop law enforcement. And we have professionals that have been training and working with agencies across the county. One is Sergeant Rudy Lopez, graduated from Grand Blanc. He's a Ferris grad, he's a football player, he's a great cop, a great investigator, a great friend. Rudy, would you come on up here? He's gonna run the drill with you, and you're gonna see it live. And it's one of the things we wanna talk about for you, that if you have schools or churches or organizations that you need active shooter training, that you can contact us, your local law enforcement. We group together, we work together for you to practice. Remember, you're always gonna respond, because he's one of our top trainers. You're always gonna respond in crisis how your training goes. So if you're training and it happens, you're gonna be second nature. If it happens, you've never trained, you're gonna be dead in the water. You're gonna freeze. So I'd like to introduce Rudy Lopez. Get your mind again. I know we have conversation pieces. This is one of them. If it happens here, what do I do? Sergeant Rudy Lopez.
So today we're taking the circuit court and district court employees, deputies, we're taking them through single and double officer response. Single and double officer response is what the national, law enforcement community is going to. Why? We all know that waiting for somebody and waiting at the door, that's a bad idea, right? All right, we're officers. I would gladly give my life to save a kid's life any day. And anybody out there in law enforcement, if you can say that, then you have the heart for the job. okay? So when we teach our guys, we teach them double, single officer. We're not waiting for backup. We're not, you know, in history, we know that history, that waiting, every second, every minute you wait, that's lives that are lost, okay? So we train our guys, double, single officer response. I have a great crew here today. I have Sergeant Dobbs and Sergeant Hunt with me today. They're part of our training instructors too. We really take pride in this. So today when we run you guys through, you're gonna see a scenario where they're clearing 2 shots, okay? These are all simulated. There are some workers in this building today, so we're not actually firing blank rounds today. We will possibly do that in the future and set that up for you. But today they're moving 2 shots in one of the courtrooms. They're gonna make entry into the courtroom. They're gonna take the shooter into custody. That is gonna be the scenario today, okay? Every time, so today, just so you guys know, guns are gonna be out, and they're their actual guns that they carry, so they get to know the feel of the weapon, okay? And I'm gonna show you my gun is safe, right? There's no magazine in it. We carry, this is just weed whip, all right? This gun is inoperable right now. This will not fire no matter what I do. All right, so our guys, we pat them down, we check them for safety. All right, we put the weed whip in the gun so it won't operate, and then we carry our gun so we know what that feels like. Carrying an AR-15 or a rifle or even your handgun, if you're carrying it through an entire school or you're carrying it through, you know, the courthouse, those things get heavy. You know, they have to know what it feels like. We're gonna train as much in real life as we can, okay? So when you see this, you'll see orange sticking out of it. That means that gun is safe and inoperable. Good?
All right, hey, this is behind the scenes. Again, we're gonna kind of like end our live feed right now because I want you to get set up and experience it. However you want to watch how we're doing this, I want those that are watching put themselves in this position. If you have the ability to go out there and protect yourself, then get yourself in the mindset of it could happen, it should happen. And we say that there's 3 things that people involved in an active shooter has as options: freeze, fight, or flee. Could you explain that real quick, and then we're going to transfer to the training.
So, and we've always preached, since I've been a part of the cadre here teaching, we've always preached run, hide, fight, all right? You have no clue how you're gonna react until you are set with that, all right? Certain people are gonna say, I'm gonna defend myself, I'm gonna fight. Certain people are gonna say, you know what, this is too much, sensory overload, I'm gone, I'm running as far as I can, as fast as I can. We're not calling you, whatever you have to do to go home at night is what we want you to do. And then hide. And when we teach people to hide, we teach them to hide. I mean, they are barricading doors, they're throwing secondary locks on, they're tying locks off. They do a phenomenal job. We've taught churches, we've taught schools, we've taught private businesses. We will go anywhere and teach. It is almost like our calling. The sheriff always tells us, hey, you guys are great at what you do. And we take pride in teaching this to everybody in the community. And we go out and we teach for free. All right?
Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next round. See you next week.
Left side clear.
You!
One straight.
Stand up where I can see you!
I killed him, man.
Stand up where I can see you! Hands in the air! Running waistband. Step back to your right. To your right. Step to your right. Do it now. Stop. Stop. Step back towards the sound of my voice. Do it now. Step back. Stop. Step to your left. Do it now. Keep your hands up in the air. Stop. Step back 2 steps towards me. Do it now.
I'm sorry, man.
Stop. Slowly, down to your knees. Face down on the ground where I can see your hands still. Do it now.
Cover.
Hand. Give me your hand.
Comments, concerns?
How often do you guys train?
Justin?
It varies. It's about every 2 months or so.
Okay.
It depends on what division we're training, what we need to accomplish for that time.
But certainly like a day like today with the court closed is.
Yeah, this is an opportunity that we can take advantage of to get all the court guys in. We'll do this frequently.
And you go to various different buildings in the county?
Yeah, different locations, whether it's the fields at the parks or wooded areas or the range.
Abandoned houses.
Did active shooter training increase in the past couple of years with everything going on in our country, or has it always been?
I think it has increased a little bit with the increase in the things that have happened in the public. We've also changed our training, the way that we train anymore.
And thanks to the sheriff, I mean, he's really, this is one of his things. He is very proud of what we do and what we teach, so he really pushes us to get these guys trained as much as we can, as best as we can. So we're fortunate enough that he sends us to get good training ourselves, and we get to bring it back and teach our guys. Anything else?
You mentioned like you kind of changed the way you guys train, like.
It's evolved over the years in the way that we respond to incidences, so it's also changed the way that we have to train more of a reality-based training as to just going in and going through the motions.
And of course, we've learned from some of the incidents, the national incidents that we've had in the past. You know, we utilize those for learning, and we grow from those and change our tactics to the way that certain events unfolded.
And it's just like you guys, we learn something new every day. Every time there's an incident, we learn something from that incident. We say, hey, we would have to prepare for that and get better.
And it's always in small groups.
So we do large group movement, but realistically, the opportunity for these guys to wait for somebody, every second we wait at the door for backup or a second officer or a team, those are lives being lost. We can't afford that. So we preach single, double officer. These guys are trained to do this by themselves with single officers. So time matters. We need to take time away from the bad guy and get it to the good guy. So every second we can eliminate coming to the threat, that's what we preach.
And the reason Sergeant Lopez is saying that is in our communities, we might only have 1 or 2 patrol officers in that area. When we have an active shooter in one of our schools, they're going to be the first ones there to respond, and they don't have time to wait for backup to get there. They have to go now. We got kids that are dying.
So if, like, let's say this was a full courtroom, you just shot somebody and they come in and everyone's like hiding, how do you know who's the shooter?
You engage the threat as you see it. So if you see someone with a gun, you're going to engage that person. If not, if no shots are being fired, we don't have an active shooter, right? So us responding to those shots indicates that that's the shooter. Does that make sense? And in the case of no shots being fired, we have time, right? Because no people are losing their lives. So we've gained time. So then it becomes more of a search. You can wait for more people at that time. The shots is what dictates the action. So the homicide in progress is what we are reacting to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like let's say like you heard the gunshots, now they're done shooting, you guys are still down the hall.
And we're working our way
You're
down.
working your way down here,
Yep.
but now they're hiding just like the rest of us in this courtroom.
That's fine.
So then we're gonna come in and hold the room.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna stay still, and we're gonna go person by person. Like I
Every
said,
person
everything
will be
slows
treated
down
as a
at that point.
suspect at that point.
So it's gonna be individual. We're gonna, whatever we need to do with this person right here, and just keep working. We're gonna have the room held down. Everybody's gonna stay where they're at. No movements.
How do you do that with one person? If you only have one person responding, how do you hold a whole room?
Well, and here's, the what if, like, if he's coming in, you can't tell me that if this is a full jury, they're not gonna say, it was him, right? Everybody's gonna be pointing at that guy, right?
And they're gonna be helping.
And they're gonna be helping also. It's a group response. We might come in and there might be, with how we train the community now, they might bum rush the guy and tackle him and have 10 people laying on top of him saying, hey, he's under here, he's under here. That's what we preach, it's part of the ALICE concept, alert, locate, our lock down, inform, counter, and evacuate, right? So when we preach the counter, that's the fighting back, run, hide, fight, right? Counter. You might have 10 people laying on the guy saying, hey, this is the guy, this is the shooter. So we just have to work it as the math problem is presented, right? We just take step by step. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. You never know what's gonna happen, all right? Our guys are trained to just go to shots. We're going to shots, we react as we can.
Are you still confused?
No,
Okay.
just
It's organized
Wanna know.
chaos.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we can't tell you it's gonna work this way. This is the best way we found to train for it.
Do you find that you guys ever use, like, volunteers or people to actually, like you have useful people, or you have, you know, other victims who were shot, things like that you have to address in the process of locating shooters?
So we've had great success with the school districts that we've been able to train with, where they've actually run full mass scare scenarios where we have kids dressed in blood and triage and screaming for help as we're moving the shots, and they're grabbing onto officers trying to stop them from getting to the shots. So yeah, we've done it all. These guys have been able to train in those kind of scenarios. We've had smoky hallways. We've done every kind of possible training we can to try to get our officers' heart rates up so that they can get a feel of what it's going to be like.
Hey, thanks for watching. You know, I want you to get that message out there. Share this Facebook link, talk about it, get it into a conversation. You know, we have an Instagram account too. Like us on Facebook. Just follow us so we can just pour information into you. We'll see you next week.